Hey, I'm Lagan, and today I want to share a strategy I've been piecing together over the past few months. I've tested it, refined it, and watched how it behaves in different market conditions. This isn't just another boring video filled with dry theory. It's a clear, practical framework that's already helping beginners figure out where to look, what to focus on, and how to make their first decisions without the overwhelm. Some of what you'll see today might feel new or complex, but trust me, I'll walk you through a simple, step-by-step path that helps you actually understand what's going on and take your first confident steps. So if you're ready, let's jump in. First of all, let's set up the indicators. This is a moving average indicator. Let's set it up for a period of 24. For me, this is the best option, which does not take into account noise and can successfully tell us how to open a trade. Then we have a time frame of 5 seconds and an expiry time of 15 seconds. Actually, that's enough for today's strategy. Let's get started. Here we see the upward movement simply by the moving average and the price chart. Because of this, I open a position upwards, expecting the movement to continue the trend. Alright folks, the deal was open on a trend, so we see upward movement here, although it has started to fade here. There may be some changes coming, but that's another matter. In this situation, we had an upward movement and opened the position upwards. Actually, the position worked out perfectly and further upward movement also occurred. We are on the plus side. Let's move on. In this situation, we see the beginning of an upward movement. So I open a position up and wait for the expiry time. And at the end of the transaction, I will give you more details about the situation. There was an upward momentum here, followed by a corrective move downward of this image. But in this case, we see that the moving average has changed its directions from downward to upward movement. Therefore, at this point, I opened the position upwards and waited for the expiration time. Actually, it's a great deal. I'm happy with it, aren't you? Before we keep going, I want to quickly mention something that's been really helpful for people just starting out. Inside my community, I share a few key setups every day. It helps members focus on what matters instead of getting distracted. You just follow along, observe the logic, and start taking actions at your own pace with understanding of what's happening and why. I hand you the tools. You apply them. Not bad, right? If you want to give it a try, there is a link in the description. Take a look and see how it works in real time. Here we see that we have an indeterminate indicator. No definite trend direction. Because of this, I move to the next chart. I see here the beginning of downward movement on the movement average indicator. Because of this, in the direction of the downward movement, I open a position down and wait for the expiry time. Now it will come to the end and I will explain this situation in more detail. What we see here is a little bit of a sideways movement, where price moves from the upper to the lower boundary, and so all the time. Sometimes going beyond the boundary, as in this case here and here. But in addition, we see that in this situation, this downward movement is accompanied by a downward movement of the moving average indicator, which confirms the strength of this impulse. Actually, we can see how strong and weighty he is, because of the deal is so precise, accurate, and quite confident on the level breakdown. Moving on. Here we see an upward movement on the moving average indicator. And here I open a position upwards and wait for the expiration time. Basically, we had a pretty interesting situation on this chart. We're in a global uptrend with a slight corrective movement, but the global trend is upward. Further, a small correction and continuation of the upward movement. Because of this, I opened just along the global direction of our movement average and fixed it successfully, although there were risks too. Here we see a downward movement. Therefore, I open a position on the continuation of this downward movement down in the direction of the trend and do not make up much. Here we see a general global downtrend with a slight correlation as here. But I'm opening a position down because global factors are pointing to it. After all, the trend is our friend, remember?
I get it. Sometimes the hardest part is simply understanding what's even happening on the screen.
But once you start noticing what more experienced people are watching, it all starts to make a lot more sense.
In my sessions, I break down setups without heavy terminology or long explanations.
And for a lot of beginners, that's where it's all starts to click. They begin to see patterns where before there was only noise. If you want to explore this kind of learning, the community is still open. Check out the link in the description and take a look around. Here I'm opening a position down. Just perfectly. The price has touched the moving average, from which a downward movement should follow. And this is all accompanied also simply by its downward direction. The downward direction of the moving average that accompanies this test from below. Because here price is getting a reaction from the level of the moving average. And in fact, the same things happened in this situation. Consequently, I opened a trade down and caught a successful momentum move down. I'm moving on. In this situation, we see a hatchet job on the downside. So I open a position down and wait for the expiration time. Right folks, in principle it is similar to the previous case of downward movement. Our trend is logically defined downward. Because of this, I am also opening a position down in the direction of this trend. I'm not making anything up, just acting according to the movement of the ship.
To be honest, any tool by itself is just a collection of features, but once you know how to use it properly, it becomes faster, clearer, and way more effective. That's why in my sessions I show how decisions are made and applied in real time. Even if you're brand new, you can start to understand the flow and avoid missing key moments. Actually, just yesterday we ran one of these live sessions. If you want to check it out, how it went, the link's in the description.
In this situation, we see the beginning of an upward movement. We saw a reversal of the moving average right here. I open a position up and wait for the end of a trade. Downward movement of the moving average. Open a position down. If we see the beginning of an upward movement, we open a position upwards. Basically, it's similar here. And it's the same in our case. We see the beginning of an upward movement, open a position upwards and see a successful trade. The main thing is to confirm everything with data from the indicator. I will move on. The situation here is unclear, as the indicator is not directed to any side. It is a horizontal position. So let's move on. We see here the beginning of a downward movement on the moving average indicator and also on the price chart. Therefore, I open a trade down in the direction of this downward momentum. Close to the entry point, but the deal closed in our favor. We just see downward impulses that are accompanied by downward moves, and we open a position on that move and lock in a position. And the indicator is helping us. Alright folks, let me move on. It's a tough schedule around here. The moving average is not directed anywhere, and the price is moving in an unclear range. I'm moving on. Here we see the beginning of an upward movement after a long consolidation. So I open a position up and wait for the expiry time. Great! That was a great analysis. Feel free to leave the comments of your own, what do you think?
Alright, that's a wrap. How are you feeling? I hope everything made sense and helped clear things up. If it did and you are ready to keep going, there is a link in the description where you can join the community. You don't have to dive in all at once. You can ease into it in your own rhythm and start connecting with the sessions step by step. Start small. What matters most is that you start. And with that, see you in the next video.